Carrying on the chapter on combat in the Mongoose Pocket Player's Handbook. I'm going to pick up from the previous page. Combat modifiers. Basic combat has been covered by the rules above, but there are numerous instances and conditions that can complicate a battle. Tactically minded players can use these to their advantage, while encountered enemies with the skills or abilities to do so may impose them against their foes. In any case, these factors can combine to make nearly impossible battles merely difficult and make an undefeatable enemy vulnerable to a strategically planned assault. The true finesse of d20 combat exists in these modifiers. Cover. To determine whether your target has cover from your ranged attack, choose a corner of your square. If any line from this corner to any corner of the target square passes through a square or border that blocks line of effect or provides cover, or through a square occupied by a creature, the target has cover +4 to AC. When making a melee attack against an adjacent target, your target has cover if any line from your square to the target square goes through a wall, including a low wall. When making a melee attack against a target that isn't adjacent to you, such as with a reach weapon, use the rules for determining cover from ranged attacks. Low obstacles and cover. A low obstacle, such as a wall no higher than half your height, provides cover, but only to creatures within 30 feet, 6 squares of it. The attacker can ignore the cover if he's closer to the obstacle than his target. Cover and attacks of opportunity. You cannot execute an attack of opportunity against an opponent with cover relative to you. And here's table 7-4, creature scale and size. Size and scale. Creature size, fine. Space says superscript 1. Superscript 1 says these values are typical for creatures of the indicated size. Some exceptions exist. Fine. Space, typical for indicated size. Half a foot, normal. Natural reach, 0. Diminutive, 1 foot, 0. Tiny, 2.5 foot, 0. Small, 5 foot, 5 foot. Medium, 5 foot, 5 foot. Large, tall, 10 foot, 10 foot. Large, long, 10 foot, 5 foot. Huge, tall, 15 foot, 15 foot. Huge, long, 15 foot, 10 foot. Gargantuan, tall, 20 foot, 20 foot. Gargantuan, long, 20 foot, 15 foot. Colossal, tall, 30 foot, 30 foot. Colossal, long, 30 foot, 20 foot. Cover and reflex saves. Cover grants you a +2 bonus on reflex saves against attacks that originate or burst out from a point on the other side of the cover from you. Note that spread effects can extend around corners and thus negate this cover bonus. Cover and hide checks. You can use cover to make a hide check. Without cover, you usually need concealment, see below, to make a hide check. Soft cover. Creatures, even your enemies, can provide you with cover against melee attacks, giving you a +4 bonus to AC. However, such soft cover provides no bonus on reflex saves, nor does soft cover allow you to make a hide check. Big creatures and cover. Any creature with a space larger than 5 feet, 1 square, determines cover against melee attacks slightly differently than smaller creatures do. Such a creature can choose any square that it occupies to determine if an opponent has cover against its melee attacks. Similarly, when making a melee attack against such a creature, you can pick any of the squares it occupies to determine if it has cover against you. So any creature that's huge determines cover against melee attacks slightly differently. They can choose any square it occupies to determine if the opponent has cover against melee attacks. So, Table 7-5, attack roll modifiers. If the attacker is melee or ranged, dazzled, -1, -1. Entangled, -2, -2, superscript 1. Superscript 1 reads, an entangled character also takes a -4 penalty to dexterity, which may affect his attack roll. Flanking defender, +2. Invisible, +2, superscript 2, +2, superscript 2. Superscript 2 reads, the defender loses any dexterity bonus to AC. This bonus does not apply if the target is blinded, so that is on invisible. Flanking defender, invisible, on higher ground, +1, +0. Prone, -4. And superscript 3, most ranged weapons cannot be used while the attacker is prone, but you can use a crossbow or shuriken while prone at no penalty. Shaken or frightened, -2, -2. Squeezing through a space, -4, -4. So entangled character takes -4 penalty to dexterity. And the defender loses any dexterity bonus to AC. And does not apply if the target is blind. Most ranged weapons cannot be used while the attacker is prone, except for a crossbow and shuriken. Total cover. If you do not have line of effect to your target, he is considered to have total cover from you. Varying degrees of cover. In some cases, cover may provide a greater bonus to AC and reflex saves. In such situations, the normal cover bonuses to AC and reflex saves can be doubled to +8 and +4 respectively. A creature with this improved cover effectively gains improved evasion against any attack to which the reflex save bonus applies. Furthermore, improved cover provides a +10 bonus on hide checks. Concealment. To determine whether your target has concealment from your ranged attack, choose a corner of your square. If any line from this corner to any corner of the target square passes through a square or border that provides concealment, the target has concealment. When making a melee attack against an adjacent target, your target has concealment if his space is entirely within an effect that grants concealment. When making a melee attack against a target that isn't adjacent to you, use the rules for determining concealment from ranged attacks. In addition, some magical effects provide concealment against all attacks, regardless of whether any intervening concealment exists. Now, this is Table 7-6, Armor Class Modifiers. Armor Class Modifiers. If the defender is melee or ranged, behind cover, +4, +4. Blinded, -2. -2 superscript 1 reads, the defender loses any dexterity bonus to AC. Concealed or invisible, see concealment. Cowering, -2, -2. The defender loses any dexterity bonus to AC. Cowering. Entangled, +0, +0. 2. An entangled character takes a -4 penalty to dexterity. Flat-footed, such as surprised, balancing, climbing. +0. Superscript 1, +0, superscript 1. So, grappling, but attacker is not, +0. Superscript 1, defender loses any dexterity bonus to AC. +0. Superscript 3, roll randomly to see which grappling combatant you strike. That defender loses any dexterity bonus to AC. Helpless, such as paralyzed, sleeping, or bound. -4, superscript 4, treat the defender's dexterity as 0, -5 modifier. Rogues can sneak attack helpless or pinned defenders. So ranged, helpless, +0, superscript 4. Treat the defender's dexterity as 0. Kneeling or sitting, -2, +2. Melee of -2, ranged +2. Pinned, -4, melee, superscript 4. Treat the defender's dexterity as 0, -5 modifier. Range +0, superscript 4. Rogues can sneak attack helpless or pinned defenders. Prone, -4, melee, +4, ranged. Squeezing through a space, -4, -4. Stunned, -2, superscript 1. The defender loses any dexterity bonus to AC. Range, -2. Defender loses any dexterity bonus to AC. So, magical effects provide concealment against all attacks, regardless of whether any intervening concealment exists. Concealment mischance. Concealment gives the subject of a successful attack a 20% chance. Concealment gives the subject of a successful attack a 20% chance that the attacker missed because of the concealment. If the attacker hits, the defender must make a mischance percentile roll to avoid being struck. Multiple concealment conditions do not stack. Concealment and hide checks. You can use concealment to make a hide check. Without concealment, you usually need a cover to make a hide check. Total concealment. If you have line of effect to a target, but not line of sight, he is considered to have total concealment from you. You cannot attack an opponent that has total concealment, though you can attack into a square that you think he occupies. A successful attack into a square occupied by an enemy with total concealment has a 50% mischance, instead of the normal 20% mischance for an opponent with concealment. You cannot execute an attack of opportunity against an opponent with total concealment, even if you can know that what square or squares the opponent occupies. Ignoring concealment. Concealment is not always effective. A shadowy area or darkness does not provide any concealment against an opponent with dark vision. Characters with low light vision can see clearly for a greater distance with the same light source than other characters. Although invisibility provides total concealment, sighted opponents may still make spot checks to notice the location of an invisible character. An invisible character gains a +20 bonus on hide checks if moving, or a +40 bonus on hide checks when not moving. Even though opponents cannot see you, they might be able to figure out where you are from other visual clues. Varying degrees of concealment. Certain situations may provide more or less than typical concealment, and modify the mischance accordingly. Flanking. When making a melee attack, you get a +2 flanking bonus if your opponent is threatened by a character or creature friendly to you on the opponent's opposite border or opposite corner. When in doubt about whether two friendly characters flank an opponent in the middle, trace an imaginary line between the two friendly characters' centers. If the line passes through opposite borders of the opponent's space, including corners of those borders, then the opponent is flanked. Exception: if a flanker takes up more than one square, it gets the flanking bonus if any square it occupies counts for flanking. Only a creature or character that threatens the defender can help an attacker get a flanking bonus. Creatures with a reach of 0 feet cannot flank an opponent. So you can't have a pixie flank your enemies. Helpless defenders. A helpless opponent is someone who is bound, sleeping, paralyzed, unconscious, or otherwise at your mercy. Regular attack. A helpless character takes a -4 penalty to AC against melee attacks, but no penalty to AC against ranged attacks. A helpless defender cannot use any dexterity bonus to AC. In fact, his dexterity score is treated as if it were 0, and his dexterity modifier to armor class as if it were -5, and a rogue can sneak attack him. Coup de grace. As a full round action, you can use a melee weapon to deliver a coup de grace to a helpless opponent. You can also use a bow or crossbow, provided you are adjacent to the target. You automatically hit and score a critical hit. If the defender survives the damage, he must make a fortitude save, DC 10 plus damage dealt, or die. A rogue also gets her extra sneak attack damage against a helpless opponent when delivering a coup de grace. Delivering a coup de grace provokes attacks of opportunity from threatening opponents. You cannot deliver a coup de grace against a creature that is immune to critical hits. You can deliver a coup de grace against a creature with total concealment, but doing this requires 2 consecutive full round actions. 1 to find the creature once you have determined what square it is in, and 1 to deliver the coup de grace. Special attacks. Aid another. In melee combat, you can help a friend attack or defend by distracting or interfering with an opponent. If you are in position to make a melee attack on an opponent that is engaging a friend in melee combat, you can attempt to aid your friend as a standard action. You make an attack roll against AC 10. If you succeed, your friend gains either a +2 bonus on his next attack roll against that opponent, or a +2 bonus to AC against an opponent's next attack. Your choice. As long as that attack comes before the beginning of your next turn. Multiple characters can aid the same friend, and similar bonuses stack. You can also use this standard action to help a friend in other ways, such as when he is affected by a spell, or to assist another character's skill check. Bull Rush. You can make a Bull Rush as a standard action, an attack, or as part of a charge. See charge below. When you make a Bull Rush, you attempt to push an opponent straight back instead of damaging him. You can only Bull Rush an opponent who is 1 size category larger than you, the same size, or smaller. So 1 size category, larger or smaller, or the same size as you. Initiating a Bull Rush. First, you move into the defender's space. Doing this provokes an attack of opportunity from each opponent that threatens you, including the defender. If you have improved Bull Rush feat, you do not provoke attack of opportunity from the defender. Any attack of opportunity made by anyone other than the defender against you during a Bull Rush has a 25% chance of accidentally targeting the defender instead, and any attack of opportunity by anyone other than you against the defender likewise has a 25% chance of accidentally targeting you. When someone makes an attack of opportunity, make the attack roll and then roll to see whether the attack went astray. Second, you and the defender make opposed strength checks. You each add a +4 bonus for each size category you are larger than medium, or a -4 penalty for each size category you are smaller than medium. You get a +2 bonus if you are charging. The defender gets a +4 bonus if he has more than 2 legs or is otherwise exceptionally stable. Bull Rush results. If you beat the defender's strength check result, you push him back 5 feet. If you wish to move with the defender, you can push him back an additional 5 feet for each 5 points by which your check result is greater than a defender's check result. You cannot, however, exceed your normal movement limit. Note, the defender provokes attacks of opportunity if he is moved. So do you, if you move with him. The two of you do not provoke attacks of opportunity from each other, however. If you fail to beat the defender's strength check result, you move 5 feet straight back to where you were before you moved into his space. If that space is occupied, you fall prone in that space. So, Table 7-7, Special Attacks. Special attack, brief description. Aid another. Grant an ally a +2 bonus on attacks or AC. Bull rush. Push an opponent back 5 feet or more. Charge. Move up to twice your speed and attack with +2 bonus. Disarm. Knock a weapon from your opponent's hands. Feint. Negate your opponent's dex bonus to AC. Grapple. Wrestle an opponent. Wrestle with an opponent. Overrun. Plow past or over an opponent as you move. Sunder. Strike an opponent's weapon or shield. Throw splash weapon. Throw container of dangerous liquid at target. Trip. Trip an opponent. Turn. Rebuke undead. Channel positive or negative energy to turn away or awe undead. Two weapon fighting. Fight with a weapon in each hand. Charge. Charging is a special full round action that allows you to move up to twice your speed and attack during the action. However, it carries tight restrictions on how you can move. Movement during a charge. You must move before your attack, not after. You must move at least 10 feet, 2 squares, and may move up to double your speed directly toward the designated opponent. You must have a clear path toward the opponent, and nothing can hinder your movement, such as difficult terrain or obstacles. Here's what it means to have a clear path. First, you must move to the closest space from which you can attack the opponent. If this space is occupied or otherwise blocked, you cannot charge. Second, if any line from your starting space to the ending space passes through a square that blocks movement, slows movement, or contains a creature, even an ally, cannot charge. Helpless creatures do not stop and charge. If you do not have line of sight to the opponent at the start of your turn, you cannot charge that opponent. You cannot take a 5-foot step in the same round as a charge. If you are able to take only a standard action or a move action on your turn, you can still charge, but you are only allowed to move up to your speed instead of up to double your speed. You cannot use this option unless you are restricted to taking only a standard action or move action on your turn. Attacking on a charge. After moving, you may make a single melee attack. You get a +2 bonus on the attack roll and take a -2 penalty to your AC until the start of your next turn. Even if you have extra attacks, such as from having a high enough base attack bonus or from using multiple weapons, you only get to make one attack during a charge. A charging character gets a +2 bonus on the strength check made to bull rush or overrun an opponent. See bull rush above and overrun below. Lances and charge attacks. A lance deals double damage if employed by a mounted character in a charge. Certain feats, such as spirited charge, can affect this damage multiple even more. Weapons readied against the charge. Spears, tridents, and certain other piercing weapons deal double damage when readied, set, and used against a charging character. Disarm. As a melee attack, you may attempt to disarm your opponent. If you do so with a weapon, you knock the opponent's weapon out of his hands into the ground. If you attempt to disarm while unarmed, you end up with the weapon in your hand. If you are attempting to disarm a melee weapon, follow the steps outlined here. If the item you are attempting to disarm isn't a melee weapon, the defender may still oppose you with an attack roll, but takes a penalty and cannot attempt to disarm you in return if your attempt fails. Step 1. Attack of opportunity. You provoke an attack of opportunity from the target you are trying to disarm. If you have the improved disarm feat, you do not incur an attack of opportunity for making a disarm attempt. If the defender's attack of opportunity deals any damage, your disarm attempt fails. Step 2. Opposed rolls. You and the defender make opposed attack rolls with your respective weapons. The wielder of a two-handed weapon on a disarm attempt gets a +4 bonus on this roll, and the wielder of a light weapon takes a -4 penalty. An unarmed strike is considered a light weapon, so you always take a penalty when trying to disarm an opponent by using an unarmed strike. If the combatants are of different sizes, the larger combatant gets a bonus on the attack roll of +4 per difference in size category. If the targeted item isn't a melee weapon, the defender takes a -4 penalty on the roll. Step 3. Consequences. If you beat the defender is disarmed. If you attempted the disarm action unarmed, you now have the weapon. If you are armed, the defender's weapon is on the ground in the defender's square. If you fail on the disarm attempt, the defender may immediately react and attempt to disarm you with the same sort of opposed melee attack roll. His attempt does not provoke an attack of opportunity from you. If he fails his disarm attempt, you do not subsequently get a free disarm attempt against him. Note: a defender wearing spiked gauntlets cannot be disarmed. A defender using a weapon attached to a locked gauntlet gets a +10 bonus to resist being disarmed. I need to try all these out and set up a bunch of little encounters between some of the miniatures I have on some of the maps we have. Just set up and start rolling. See what happens. Disarm and grabbing weapons. You can use a disarm action to snatch an item worn by the target. If you want to have the item in your hand, the disarm must be made as an unarmed attack. If the item is poorly secured or otherwise easy to snatch or cut away, the attacker gets a +4 bonus. Unlike on a normal disarm attempt, failing the attempt does not allow the defender to attempt to disarm you. This otherwise functions identically to a disarm attempt, as noted above. You cannot snatch an item that is well secured unless you have pinned the wearer. See grapple. Even then, the defender gains a +4 bonus on his roll to resist the attempt. Feint. Feinting is a standard action. To feint, make a bluff check opposed by a sense motive check by your target. The target may add his base attack bonus to this sense motive check. If your bluff check result exceeds your target's sense motive check result, the next melee attack you make against the target does not allow him to use his dexterity bonus to AC, if any. This attack must be made on or before your next turn. When feinting in this way against a non-humanoid, you take a -4 penalty. Against the creature of animal intelligence 1 and 2, you take a -8 penalty. Against a non-intelligent creature, it is impossible. Feinting in combat does not provoke attacks of opportunity. Feinting is a move action. With the improved feint feat, you can attempt a feint as a move action instead of as a standard action. Grapple. All forms of offensive holding, including the ancient art of wrestling, are considered actions of the grapple type. These actions can bind up a dangerous opponent or subdue someone when normal combat methods are ineffective. Grapple checks. Repeatedly in a grapple, you need to make opposed grapple checks against an opponent. A grapple check is like a melee attack roll. Your attack bonus on a grapple check is base attack bonus plus strength modifier plus special size modifier. Special size modifier. The special size modifier for a grapple check is as follows: colossal plus 16, gargantuan plus 12, huge plus 8, large plus 4, medium plus 0, small -4, tiny -8, diminutive -12, fine -16. Use this number in place of the normal size modifier you use when making an attack roll. I wonder why they put it like that instead of in a table. Starting a grapple. To start a grapple, you need to grab and hold your target. Starting a grapple requires a successful melee attack roll. If you get multiple attacks, you can attempt to start a grapple multiple times at successively lower base attack bonuses. Step 1. Attack of Opportunity. You provoke an attack of opportunity from the target you are trying to grapple. If the attack of opportunity deals damage, the grapple attempt fails. Certain monsters do not provoke attacks of opportunity when they attempt to grapple, nor do characters with the improved grapple feat. If the attack of opportunity misses or fails to deal damage, proceed to Step 2. Step 2. Grab. You make a melee touch attack to grab the target. If you fail to hit the target, the grapple attempt fails. If you succeed, proceed to Step 3. Step 3. Hold. Make an opposed grapple check as a free action. If you succeed, you and your target are now grappling, and you deal damage to the target as if with an unarmed strike. If you lose, you fail to start the grapple. You automatically lose an attempt to hold if the target is 2 or more size categories larger than you are. In case of a tie, the combatant with the higher grapple check modifier wins. If this is a tie, roll again to break the tie. Step 4. Maintain grapple. To maintain the grapple for later rounds, you must move into the target space. This movement is free and does not count as part of your movement in the round. Moving. As normal, provokes attacks of opportunity from threatening opponents, but not from your target. If you cannot move into your target space, you cannot maintain the grapple and must immediately let go of the target. To grapple again, you must begin at Step 1. Grappling consequences. While you are grappling, your ability to attack others and defend yourself is limited. You are using most of your concentration and every available limb to try and impede your opponent's movements, making it very difficult to spare any attention or effort against any other foe. No threatened squares. You do not threaten any squares while grappling. No dexterity bonus. You lose your dexterity bonus to AC if you have one against opponents you are not grappling. You can still use it against opponents that you are grappling. No movement. You cannot move normally while grappling. You may, however, make an opposed grapple check. See the rules for doing so below. To move while grappling. If you are grappling. When you are grappling, regardless of who started the grapple, you can perform any of the following actions. Some of these actions take the place of an attack, rather than being a standard action or a move action. If your base attack bonus allows you multiple attacks, you can attempt one of these actions in place of each of your attacks, but at successively lower base attack bonuses. Activate a magic item. You can activate a magic item as long as the item does not require a spell completion trigger. You do not need to make a grapple check to activate the item. Attack your opponent. You can make an attack with an unarmed strike, natural weapon, or light weapon against another character you are grappling. You take a -4 penalty on such attacks. You cannot attack with 2 weapons while grappling, even if both are light weapons. Cast a spell. You can attempt to cast a spell while grappling, or even while pinned. See below. Provided its casting time is no more than 1 standard action. It has no somatic component, and you have in hand any material components or focuses you might need. Any spell that requires precise and careful action is impossible to cast while grappling or being pinned. If the spell is one that you can cast while grappling, you must make a concentration check, DC 20 plus spell level, or lose the spell. You do not have to make a successful grapple check to cast the spell. Damage your opponent. While grappling, damage your opponent. While grappling, you can deal damage to your opponent equivalent to an unarmed strike. Make an opposed grapple check in place of an attack. If you win, you deal non-lethal damage as normal for your unarmed strike. So, while grappling, you can deal damage to your opponent equivalent to an unarmed strike. Make an opposed grapple check in place of an attack. If you win, you deal non-lethal damage as normal for your unarmed strike. 1d3 points for medium attackers, or 1d2 points for small attackers with strength modifiers. If you want to deal lethal damage, you take a -4 penalty on your grapple check. Exception: monks deal more damage on an unarmed strike than other characters, and the damage is lethal. However, they can choose to deal their damage as non-lethal damage when grappling without taking the usual -4 penalty for changing lethal damage to non-lethal damage. Draw a light weapon. You can draw a light weapon as a move action with a successful grapple check. Escape from grapple. You can escape a grapple by winning an opposed grapple check in place of making an attack. You can make an escape artist check in place of your grapple check, if you so desire, but this requires a standard action. If more than one opponent is grappling you, your grapple check result has to beat all their individual check results to escape. Opponents do not have to try to hold you if they do not want to. If you escape, you finish the action by moving into any space adjacent to your opponents. Move. You can move half of your speed, bringing all others engaged in the grapple with you by winning an opposed grapple check. This requires a standard action, and you must beat all the other individual check results to move the grapple. Note: you get a +4 bonus on your grapple check to move a pinned opponent. Shit. Oh, man. Okay. You can, okay.